What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and in this video I want to discuss all of the mini and micro nerfs and buffs coming with Operation Void Edge that I didn't get to talk about in the last video, where I mainly focused on Twitch and Legion. So let's get stuck right in and see what's in store for us next season. Castle will be seeing a mini loadout rework. He will lose access to the ubiquitous M45 pistol and instead get access to the super shorty shotgun. This makes a lot of sense and will allow Castle players to rework the map more freely without having to bring a primary shotgun. It's a tiny improvement on a very situational operator, but in my opinion it's definitely a step in the right direction. Hopefully there is a much more impactful rework in the making to give poor old Castle a bit more of a purpose in future. Frost is also seeing a micro update in that her 9mm C1 SMG will now get access to the holographic sight. It won't really change anything about her power level, but since the holo sight is still the most popular option in the game, when the ACOG is not available of course, it makes complete sense to add this choice. If you like the holo, well, good news everyone, you can now also play it on Frost, and if not, well, nothing really changes. Goyo's shields have been remodeled a little bit so that they will now only explode and spread fire if they were intentionally destroyed with explosives or bullets to the red canister. Accidentally setting off one of the shields by stepping onto it will soon be a thing of the past. Again, this is a relatively minor comfort change more than anything else. You won't see a shield go off accidentally in the prep phase anymore, but for attackers the shields will still be exactly the same obstacles as before. I definitely approve of this update, a nice little fix. IQ has always had special little voice lines for when she discovers the bombs or biohazard containers on her wrist scanner, but up until now there was no effect beyond that. With Operation Void Edge, scanning the objectives will now also fulfill a practical purpose in that this can discover and mark them for the entire team, just like droning does, or let's say like droning is supposed to do. I'm going to call this change a micro buff as well. Nothing really changes, this won't affect IQ's pick rate or win delta, but it gives her just that extra bit of utility that will be useful, especially amongst newer players. If droning didn't find the objective, IQ can soon run a quick sweep right at the beginning of the round which will ID the objective and then allow the team to focus their efforts on the attack rather than searching the map. I think grouping Warden in with these changes also makes sense, since again, his update is a bit of a micro buff. Nice to have, but definitely not earth-shattering. In the past and up until now, one of Warden's weaknesses, one of many sadly, is that he can only use his smart glasses when they are fully charged, and once activated, switching them off manually will cause the remaining charge to be used up. Then after that, you have to wait for them to completely recharge before being able to use them again. But no more. With Operation Void Edge, you will be able to interrupt the use of the glasses at any time without losing the rest of the charge, and you will also be able to reactivate them as long as they have above 20% of their charge. The total maximum duration of the charge is 10 seconds, and it takes just as long to recharge the glasses, 1 second recharge time for every 1 second of time you use the ability. DMRs are getting a little bit more utility added to them. Not only are they now the predominant weapon class that can over-penetrate a target and score multiple hits in one shot, but they are now also much more powerful when it comes to destroying breachable surfaces. As you can see from this handy summary, up until now most DMRs needed 20 shots to open up barricades, 10 shots to create an impulse in wooden walls, and 6 for drywall. Hatches used to take up so many shots that opening them with most of these DMRs was basically impossible. It would cost you a lot of time and all of your ammo, and even then there was no guarantee that you would be able to open the hatch with your sidearm. The 50 caliber AR-1550 used by Maverick was a bit of an exception, as was Glaz's OTS-03, because, you know, his gun is also his gadget. And nothing changes for the Russian OTS with the new operation, whereas all other DMRs will be standardized to the same, more powerful destructive capabilities. You will now need a pretty consistent 7 shots on barricades, 3 shots on wooden walls, 2 shots on dry walls, and usually either 6 or 7 shots for hatches. If the 6th shot on the hatch creates an impulse, then it's 6, otherwise the 7th shot will do. On some occasions, getting a hatch open with 5 shots can also occur, but it's quite rare. So once again, we have a nice little micro buff that won't be game-changing in and of itself, but just adds that layer of differentiation to the weapon classes. For far too long, the assault rifles have just been the default best choice for attackers in the game, with the LMGs and DMRs being straight up inferior in every way. Little considerations like the possibility of hitting multiple targets and breaching soft surfaces more easily will give players more of a real choice to think about when playing operators that can bring either a DMR or rifle. Great move, I love it. Another little tweak to the DMRs is that they will all be losing access to the compensator muzzle attachment. For single-shot weapons, the muzzle brake has been the best possible choice ever since the attachment became available during the mid-season reinforcements of Operation Skull Rain, and the simple fact is that the compensator just doesn't really do anything on semi-auto weapons. Taking away this pointless choice is all about removing a bad option and reducing confusion. Last topic of the day, and let's round things out with a bit of a bang. The Vector 45 has always been a bit of a lackluster weapon, but this fact has been kept hidden for a long time in the past because it was only Mira who could use this gun, and Mira's windows are so powerful that they helped mask how bad this gun actually is. Now that this SMG is also shared by Goyo though, its shortcomings have become a bit more evident, and so the gun is being buffed from 21 damage to 23 at close range and from 15 to 16 at long range. And hooray, I hear you cry out sarcastically, whoop-de-doo, hallelujah, 2 extra damage at short range and 1 extra at distance. This is truly going to make all the difference, isn't it? But curb your sarcasm is all I can say in response, because this is actually one of those very rare cases where a small damage change actually has a respectable impact. At ranges up to 18 meters, those 2 extra damage points mean 1 less shot to down or kill against both level 2 and level 3 armor opponents when hitting the upper body, and 1 less shot against level 1 and 2 armors if you're hitting just the arms or legs. That's definitely nothing to sniff at, and each of those savings of 1 bullet will also translate into a saving of 50 milliseconds, not too shabby. At longer range, admittedly, the improvement is not quite as impressive. No bullet savings for body shots, but instead 1 shot saved for limb shots against level 1 armors and 2 shots saved for 3 armors. Again, those savings translate into 50 milliseconds per bullet, but when we're talking 9 hits instead of 10, or 13 instead of 15, and for arm and leg strikes only, then that advantage becomes a little bit meaningless overall. But that doesn't really matter. Mira has complete control over her engagements most of the time anyway, and if you're going to be fighting at longer ranges with Goyo, then just switch to the TCSG before the round starts and you'll be fine as well. All in all, this change should give the Vector a nice little bump that will hopefully bring it more in line with the performances of the other Defender weapons, and if it turns out to be not enough yet, there's still more room to improve this gun in future. And those are all of the remaining micro-operator changes that Void Edge will bring. With the exception of the Vector buff, all of these changes are a lot of little tweaks that won't make a huge difference in terms of the effectiveness or power level of the operators or weapons, but will hopefully improve the quality of life quite a bit. Hopefully we will see a lot more of these kind of changes with every season in future. Given that we'll be going down to 1 operator per season later this year, they really need to make up for this reduction in content by stepping it up when it comes to improving the game overall. I guess on that front it will be a case of wait and see. With that, many thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.